Hi, and welcome to the episode 6 of Rock Your Novel Writing with Scrivener. If you followed along on all episodes, you have hopefully learned a ton of tools to create your manuscript in Scrivener. And now we're going to talk about how to take it out of Scrivener and get it onto the desk of an agent or editor. So, compiling for Scrivener can feel like a little bit of a daunting task at first because there are so many options. But the more comfortable you get with it, the more you see that this is actually a really great opportunity to create your manuscript in a way that really suits your needs instead of just doing something that everyone else would do. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go into how to compile for ebooks, Kindle books, all of that, because those are more advanced tools. However, if you search the internet, you can find help with it, and of course, Scrivener's manual gives you more details for that as well. So today we're going to be focusing on getting your manuscript ready for an editor, agent, just the standard manuscript format, or if you would like, you'll also be learning how to make a nice presentable document, even for yourself, just for proofing. We've been working in scenes throughout this entire class. However, we're now going to add some chapter folders just to show you how chapters and scenes are different in Scrivener's exporting. So let's go ahead and add a new folder called Chapter 1. We'll add another new folder, Chapter 2. And one more, Chapter 3. So we'll add snack and school, fairy sighting, and capture, and escape, all into different scenes, all into different chapters. So when we click on manuscript and we're in the document view, we can see the different breaks. So these are the breaks for scenes, just the one line, and then the double is for chapters. So we're going to use these breaks in order to help us get a glimpse of what the difference is between chapters and scenes in the compiling. So to get to compile, you can go up to the icon with the document and a blue arrow at the very top, or you can go to File, Compile. We're going to look at the summary first, which is the left-handed option, and this is just the most basics for compiling for Scrivener. We're not going into the options yet. We will. That might overwhelm you a little bit. So let's just do the summary for now. We're going to format it as the standard manuscript format. There are plenty of other formats, ebooks, paperback novels, scripts. You can even do your synopses, type synopses or other things like that. But we're going to look at the standard manuscript format. The next option is what you compile. You can compile just chapter 1, and then you can treat it as an entire draft. Or you can unselect these and select the entire manuscript. Or you can select current selection, which would be if you select like chapter 1 and chapter 3, then you go to compile and go to current selection. So it would compile just those chapters. But we're going to go ahead and compile our entire manuscript. The front matter is what's located in this folder here on the left in the binder. You can change what front matter you want for the manuscript format, paperback novel, ebooks, and I'm going to go more into the front matter later on when we're looking at all the different options for the compiling. You have options for smart quotes, for italics to underlines, and comments and annotations. The comments and annotations we went over in the last episode, and besides that, these are just stylistic options that you want to choose. You can also change the font. So it's going to go to Courier New as a default, but you can change it to Arial or Times New Roman or any other font you want, and it will override all the fonts that you have in where you composed your novel. You then select how you would like to compile. There's a lot of different options here. We're just going to look at print for right now and just look at it in preview just to give you a glimpse of what it looks like. Later on, I'll show you how to do it in Microsoft Word. So we're going to compile for print. And then I'm going to go to Open PDF and Preview. And now we have our manuscript. So you can see that the chapters are split by a page and the text goes partway down the page. And then our scenes are separated by the hash marks. Back to Scrivener, we're going to go back to compiling. So we're going to click on the button again. Now we're going to go from summary to format as custom. We're going to go to all options. And now we have a ton of options to go through. The first section is for contents. And you can see that the top option is a titled page. The title page comes from down here where it says Add Front Matter. And then the manuscript format with the title page is selected. If we do not want a title page, we simply deselect Add Front Matter, and the option is gone from up here. However, in most cases, you will want front matter. So we're going to go ahead and add it, and we're going to look at how to edit our front matter. So let's cancel for now. You have several options with front matter. You can create your own, you can edit what Scrivener has, or you can just use what it comes with by default. So we're going to look at the front matter folder on the left with the binder. We're going to go to the manuscript format, the title page. You might remember in the first example that I pulled up for just the original standard manuscript format, it had this there. It had the name, address, phone number, agent information, and then the words were filled out, and then the project title and my name were there. These codes are called placeholder tags. If you would like to learn more about them, you go up to Help, Placeholder Tags List. And then you'll see all sorts of tag words that you can add yourself, but that's an advanced feature, and we're just going to stick right now with what we have here. If you would like your information to be on your title page, all you have to do is type it in. The project title is going to be the default of what your Scrivener program is titled, unless you later on change the formatting, which I'll show you how to do later on. So we're just going to add in my name right now for the front matter for the title page, and we're going to go back to compile, and we're going to make sure that the title page is selected, that we just edited, and that it's there. We're going to have it as is, and now we have the rest of the contents of our manuscript. So we want to include everything right now. So we want to include the chapters and the scenes, and automatically there's going to be a page break for each of the chapters. But you can add an additional one by selecting the page break before. With the as is, that means that no matter what edits you make with formatting, the pages are going to be exactly the same as they are in Scrivener, which means if you're using Cambria font, it's not going to change to Courier New no matter what you do if you have as is selected. For print settings, you can either do publishing or proofing. While Scrivener does a little bit of explanation for publishing and proofing, I've never found a reason where I would want to actually use the proofing. I've never really found a difference between them, so I personally use publishing. You can either underline hyperlinks and color hyperlinks if you would like, but those options are very easily taken away or given. Next, we have separators. And you can see that on the left-hand side of all of these options, it shows the type of document before and after, before, after. So what this means is that we're first looking at what happens between the scenes, like between the snack and to school. In the first example I showed you with the summary, just the example, there were hash marks between scenes. You can keep the single hash mark. You can add more hash marks. You can do any character that you would like. Scrivener also supports some special characters. To get those, you go to Edit, Special Characters. Let's go here. There's so many options. Here, let's do this one. This cool little diamond. So now every time there's a break between scenes, we'll have the diamond. One thing that's important to note is that whatever character you do, whether it's the special diamond or a hash mark, you're going to want to remember it and be able to use it in your importing and splitting if you take your manuscript from the compiled, exported document and put it back into Scrivener. So with our chapters, right now we have a page break between each chapter. You can make it into something else, a single return, empty line, or something custom. Between the folder and text separator, which means between the beginning of chapter 1 and the snack, there can be an empty line, or you could do a whole page break, which would put the chapter folder on its own page. Or again, when it's the opposite way, when it's the scene between the chapter, you could do a page break, so every time you start a new chapter, there's a new page. And then the last one, insert page break before text documents with subdocuments, would be if you were stacking the files so that to school was filed under the snack. And so you would do a page break as though that was a chapter break. Now we're going to take a look at formatting. As you can see, right now, Level 1 Plus is selected. And on the left-hand side, the chapters 1, 2, and 3 are highlighted. When I go down to Level 1, or Level 2 Plus, which you can see is the indented scene, so it's indented in from the folder, all of these are selected. So when you're working with the Scrivener formatting, it shows you which scenes are being edited. Now, for all of these options, except for the chapter folder, text is selected. The way that we have formatted our manuscript, we're not using these two levels, the two middle levels, Level 1 Plus and 1, which is fine. It just has to do with your filing system. So if you file your folders differently than I have filed them for the example in these episodes, that's perfectly fine. You'll be able to see them highlighted. For the folder, you can select whether or not you would like the title, or and then there's chapter 1, which will be listed there no matter what, because if we unselect title, the title is gone. What this means is that each chapter folder is automatically calculated as 1, 2, and 3. However, if you also select title, that makes the chapter, the folder name, show up as a title. So it would say chapter 1, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 2, and so on. So we're going to go ahead and unselect title, so it'll just show our chapters. And let's go ahead and compile and just take a little glimpse of what we've done so far. As you can see, my name is now in the front matter with the word count, the title, and my name. Scrolling down, we see chapter 1. It's automatically calculated that as chapter 1. For the scene break, we have the special diamond character. And the next chapter is automatically labeled as chapter 2 without us having to do anything. Again, the scene break, and then the chapter break one last time. If you would like to have subtitles instead of just chapter headings, all you need to do is to have what you would like the subheading to be the name of the document. You can even do it with chapters. So we're going to say Story Begins will be the subtitle of the first chapter. We go back to compile, and we're going to select title underneath level 1. So it's going to be the chapter and then the title. So we'll compile. And there it is, chapter 1, the story begins. And then we also have the snack, which you will remember is the title for the next scene. And you can get rid of that by deselecting title right there. So we'll no longer have the snack because we just want the subtitle, the story begins. There's a lot of other things you can do with the formatting. One of the most important things is the padding for lines. If you go under chapter, it's going to say how many lines you go down before you start the text for that chapter. The default is 14, but you can add more depending on what you need, whether for your agent or editor or for yourself. So you can then compile. We're going to open in preview. And you can see that now we have gone down a little bit further than we had in the previous examples. Going back to compile, we're now on the title adjustments. The title adjustments just has to do with the prefixes and suffixes to the front matter documents. There's not really a lot to be done here. If this is something that's important to you, just take a look at it later on. For the layout, do not add page padding to the first document. Just has to do with those lines of padding that we added to the document to make it go down further. So we can do that or not. And then use hyphenation. I don't recommend that. That's when it breaks up the words to hyphenate them in your text. Marking the end of the text is just what you would like there to be when your manuscript is complete. So you can mark it with these brackets, or you could say the end, or you could say whatever you would like. For the empty lines across page breaks, that has to do with, well, it explains it right here, but if there's 2 lines and they're separated, just adding in the asterisk to let you know that the separation has happened. Transformations are all pretty self-explanatory, so you can go through them and see which works best for you. And replacements are if you need to replace any particular words Most of this can be done just in find and replace later on or elsewhere in your project, but if you want to replace a word like a name like Charles to Thomas, you can do that here with the case sensitive, whole word, all of that. Statistics and tables are advanced features that I'm unfortunately not able to help you with right now, but you probably won't need them just with writing a novel. We went into footnotes and comments for the most part in our last episode, but again, you can remove footnotes, you can change how they're labeled, you can change the font for footnotes, how you group them, separators, indentations. You can also, but most importantly, we talked about the comments and annotations, which is where you would want this to be unselected if you would like to be able to receive the comments on your document. But if you're doing a final copy, you would definitely want this to be selected. Page settings brings us back to some of the metadata settings, and you can see the tags list here. So if we want to make some adjustments, we can also go back to we have to cancel out of here, project metadata settings, and here it has the project title, abbreviated title, your full name, surname, and forename. So if we would like, right now the title is Scrivener Example because that's the name of our document, but we could change it to Sarah's Story. And then anytime the project title would show up, it'll say Sarah's Story. If we want to do an abbreviated title, we could just do Sarah. The reason you might abbreviate a title is if you have a very long one and you want your header to have the title of your manuscript, but you don't want a 6-word title there. For the full name, you can change your author's name if you use a pseudonym or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and keep this Sarah's Story and Sarah. We're going to go back to compile, and we're going to look at the header and footer. So for the header and footer, it has the surname tag, the project title, the abbreviated project title, and the page number. So let's go ahead and compile and see what that looks like. So now it says Sarah's Story instead of Scrivener Example. And you can see up here, it has Sarah, the abbreviated title, and the page number. And the name isn't coming through, so let's take care of that. The surname. Oh, see, it's metadata settings. Right now, there's nothing for surname, so we'll go ahead and add my surname. Catherine too. Okay. Now we're going to compile. And now we see Felt, Sarah, page 1. Perfect. And now back to page settings. We forgot to go over the margins. It'll default to 1-inch margins, but if you need to change that for any reason, just change it right there. There's no problem there. We're going to look at the first pages now next to header and footer. You can change whether or not you have a different first page header and footer. For example, most people like to have their front page not have a header and footer, but if you would like it to have it, and just to be in the exact same style as all your other pages, you would deselect different, or you would select, you would deselect different first pages, header, and footer. If you have it selected, you can decide whether or not you want the page number to count on the first page. You can also select the header and footer font as well. And if you decide to start the regular header on a different page, you can do that right here in Scrivener by choosing which page. For facing pages, you can go ahead and have your pages face if you'd like. So that's an option for you. And now our last option under compilation is the quick font override. Now, if you change this font, that changes all your fonts, your header, your footer, your text, your titles, everything. So to do that, you just select override all fonts with face and you pick whatever one you would like to use. So we're going to use Helvetica. If you go back and you look at all of these where it says as is, you can select a scene to have as is, and it'll have the font that you used to compose your novel in Scrivener. So let's take a look at how that compares by compiling. As you can see, the font has changed. And now we have our story. Keep scrolling down. And you can see here, it formatted differently because we said as is. So if you want it all to look the same, you're going to want to make sure that as is not selected. Now that we have worked so hard to create our own compile system, we can go ahead and take our format, our custom format, and go to Manage Compile Format Presets. And we can go to the plus sign, and we're going to name it My Compile Settings. That means that it's now an option for one of the presets. So we can say OK. And now when we go to Summary, we can go back to the standard manuscript format, and then under My Formats, My Compile Settings. So you don't just need to put all this work into it and then have to redo it every single time. Once you find a system and you customize it to the way that you like it best, you can save it as your own compile settings and just keep using it every single time you create a new manuscript. Congratulations! You've completed the course, and now it's time to rock your novel with Scrivener. I know that learning a new software can be a daunting experience, but you've stuck with it, and you've learned all sorts of tools that are going to help you when you're composing your manuscript, or revising your manuscript, or sending it off to be queried and seen by an agent or an editor. So I hope that as you leave this course, you are excited and ready to put the tools you've learned to use in Scrivener. I wish you the best of luck, and thanks so much for being a part of this and for coming along this journey with me.